Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. We talked about some big potential Rostermania news yesterday, but today we have some serious updates coming out of the Florida Mutineers and also the Los Angeles Guerrillas. The Miami Heretics is going to be a thing, it seems, for the next season, but also some rumors as to who's going to buy Los Angeles Guerrillas and the potential controversies that might come as a result. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. First of all, to mention real quick some new things that have arrived into the game here. There's also going to be like a Kevin Durant character or whatever they call it, operator, right, in the game, which is pretty wild. And apparently they're going to bring in some other influencers as well. We'll talk about that slightly later today. It's not going to be Cammy MVP though, it seems. But all the custom blueprints are officially added into the game yesterday. So this is like honestly such a long time coming, right? The idea, I mean, also it's taken ages for these to be made. Yes, it's a good step in the right direction, but to me it's frustrating because these teams are, if we want to make this ecosystem sustainable, these teams have to have a way to make money. And the way that it's done in Valorant and League of Legends and other games is that, or even like CSGO with the stickers and stuff, is that the teams get revenue from the microtransactions. There's other ways to make money, but that's one way that you actually can try and generate money for these teams in esports, is doing stuff like this. And of course, part of the money that is spent on these could potentially go into crowdfunding for the events and all this stuff. So, you know, this is something we need to do. And finally, at least there's some element of it here. So the 12 custom team blueprints, they're $7 each, which actually, to be honest, I thought they were going to charge more than that, to be honest. So I guess that's not really too bad. But, you know, back in the day, what was it? You could spend probably this amount to get the entire, I mean, Black Ops 3, I forget how much it was, for the entire, like, NA or EU team pack for all of the camos and all of the guns was probably not much more than this, to be honest. You got absolutely everything, whereas this is just one camo for one gun, but whatever. It is what it is. It's still good nonetheless. Also wanted to mention, this was officially, we could talk about this yesterday, that Lion Man, I know that people have been asking for many years, like, get Lion Man to design the camos in the game, and Toronto commissioned him to design this one, which is absolutely beautiful. So that goes to the S tier of our particular list. Breaking Boy came up with this. Don't know if you guys agree or disagree with the list. I really like Surge's one personally. That's definitely up there for me. I like Thieves' one as well. Los Angeles Guerrillas, I think, is kind of clean. I think maybe Boston, I don't know. Boston's interesting because it's a bit, I quite like it, but then it's also kind of cluttered, so there's a debate to be had. OpTics, we got down in the seat here. I didn't make this, so, you know, obviously there's going to be some debate about that because I know there was some talk that OpTic designed it in this way so that when you put the stickers on it, they look kind of clean, which is also quite a good argument as well. So interested in your thoughts in the comments below, but they're all there. Let's dive straight in then to the big news of yesterday, and I wanted to kind of wait on this to see if there was further reaction, which there was. We'll see in a second. On the Miami Heretics. So if you guys have seen all this talk lately that a lot of these CDL organizations, as we just mentioned, are struggling to make money, and therefore they are looking at potential mergers. We talked about the Minnesota Rokkr lately looking for something like this. The Los Angeles Guerrillas want out of here. It wasn't long ago that Florida Mutineers, I think Ben Spoont over there said, there was an interview that came up where he was like, yeah, they basically just sold us the snake oil. I think, what did he say? Kool-Aid, wasn't it? They made us drink the Kool-Aid. There was some crazy quote like that he said about these teams that actually bought the spot and didn't really necessarily realize that the money they were spending wasn't necessarily worth what they were getting. And the implication was that Florida Mutineers and Misfits kind of wanted to find a way to either get out of here or make this more worthwhile, because we know that Florida, of all these organizations, they've got to spend this cash to get these spots, but they're not really spending the most money. They're not being super competitive, so they want other alternatives. So Mutineers are set to partner with the Spanish organization Team Heretics. This is awesome stuff. To be honest, we've wanted Heretics in the league since the start of the CDL. I was hoping that a Spanish team run by Heretics would come in, but it never happened until very recently. We heard the rumors, and I think it's now been confirmed that KOI, a Spanish organization started by some creators, eBay and co, they either bought or partnered with Rogue or like Rect Global, I think, who own London Royal Ravens. So there was even rumors that this season they were trying to relocate London either to Madrid or to Spain somewhere and potentially make some changes on that front and, you know, change the branding and all this stuff and bring in Spanish players, you would well imagine. Now, whether Activision have said to them, well, we kind of still want to keep the London spot, we want the UK team still, and the idea now that there's going to be what could well be 2 Spanish teams in the league is very interesting indeed. Especially when we talk about the rumored roster here for the Miami Heretics, well, it's meant to be, because that they don't actually, rumored right now, have the 3 arguably best Spanish players, and they might well be going elsewhere. As I just mentioned, these other Spanish teams, we might go from 0 to 2 in a season and then have no UK teams, but, you know, we'll see how it goes. It's very much up in the air at the moment, and this might not even happen, but it probably will. I always thought it was weird as well that organizations like Florida, and I guess it's the same story for OpTic Texas in in a way, but some teams have a city, right? Los Angeles, you know, New York, whatever. I guess New York's also a state, but, you know, most are based in a city, London, for example, whereas Minnesota, it's not Minneapolis Rokkr, right? It's Minnesota Rokkr, and Florida was always Florida. So I was like, why is the discrepancy here between some are city-based, some are state-based, whatever. Now it's going to be Miami and it's going to be Heretics. If you guys aren't familiar with Heretics, they were such a great story back in the Black Ops 4 season, especially. Of course, it was a 5-man team back then, but they qualified early on in the year. They had such a great run. Journey, this is this player right here, was considered to be such a good player. Metals was a super exciting talent in that game as well. I remember when they qualified through the Pro League qualifier, the hype about that was incredible. The Spanish scene was on fire, and there's still a big Spanish scene around Call of Duty. They just haven't had any support over the last few years because there hasn't really been a Spanish team or any Spanish players. So it was spotted last night that a new trademark has been filed by Esports Go LLC, owner of the Mutineers trademark, has also filed for the Miami Heretics trademark, and that was filed on April the 17th, 2023. So pretty much confirmed, it seems, that this is going to be happening at some point in the near future. It's also been spotted as well here. The Miami Heretics has a Twitter account that I dropped the follow to, and this was once again joined April 2023. So all things considered, this looks quite likely. The logos, now this isn't the modern logo of Heretics, actually. This is the logo that they had when they were in Call of Duty a few years ago, which I think is super clean, and I love the color scheme. And it obviously is a very similar color scheme, interestingly enough, to what Florida Mutineers have had, and whether they can get this changed or whatever they want to do, we shall see. But it seems like this takeover probably is going to happen. Now, look, Los Angeles Guerrillas, Heretics, they have a relatively similar logo. This is the modern Heretics logo, I believe, but whether Los Angeles Guerrillas are even here next year, whether they get things changed out, that's very interesting. So really cool stuff, I think, for the CDL, the idea that the Spanish scene can finally actually get some representation. Bit weird, obviously, that it's going to be in Miami, but then again, doesn't Miami have a pretty high percentage of Spanish-speaking population? So maybe there's some way in which this will actually work out quite well. Now, what gets interesting about this is when we talk about the rumored rosters, because the rotation come out with this, and I believe this discussion has been had for a few months now, because this team is obviously going to blow it up, right? A lot of these rosters at the bottom will be doing so, and they have an idea already for which guys they want to bring into their squad. Now, I believe it was, you know, Lucky, Metals, was it Journey as well? I forget exactly, but certainly Lucky, who was actually on the Toronto Ultra team right back at the start of the CDL in Modern Warfare after that good Black Ops 4 season that Heretics had, because they thought, all right, let's get some of these Spanish guys, bring Looney in, see if that works out. Didn't really work out. They went down a different direction, of course, but they gave it a go. So rumor has it that Mutineers are now going to be the Miami Heretics, and of course, again, it's kind of a loss in a way of a nice brand, because the Mutineers, okay, they might not have the greatest, strongest brand with their best, you know, fan base and all this stuff, but they've got quite a nice logo, right? The Mutineers, you know, everything associated with it was quite cool, and you know, of course, we're losing it again. This is an expansion, right? This isn't Mutineers exist and the Heretics exist in Madrid. This is a replacement. Now, I'm not surprised, right? Expansion straight up isn't going to happen unless there's the demand for it for organizations, and the current willingness is to get out of there. So, you know, it's doubtful that more expansion is going to happen, but nonetheless, the rumored roster is Eric Boom, Lucky, Metals, Journey, and Vickle. So, okay, it's not going to go to 5v5. One of these is going to be the sub, but I'm pretty cool that Vickle is more than likely going to stay. Spanish player, of course, was in the North American scene for quite some time. But what is very interesting about this is that arguably the best 3 Spanish players, one of which being Real, of course, who's currently on the Minnesota Rokkr Academy, who's been very promising for the last few years, and then also Super, who's been looking like maybe the best in recent memory, and then Rencor as well. Those 3 players right now are considered by many to be the strongest 3 talents in the Spanish region, and that brings you up to 8 very good Spanish players. But they're not going here, it seems. They're not part of the plan, which is very interesting, because if you were going to do it, I thought at least one of those 3 guys would be one of your targets, and they may well be down the line. But if they're not, does make me wonder about KOI and London and everything going on there, as to whether maybe they've already got those guys in conversation, and we might have a lot of Spanish representation next year, which would be good to see, I think. And also, all of a sudden, right, North American players are going to be thinking, hang on a second there, like some of the organizations that NA players would be going to are now, you know, of course, because Toronto, they've got some EU guys on there. Minnesota Rokkr, they've got some EU guys on there, and now they've potentially 2 teams in London, whatever they're going to do, and now Heretics that are also going to involve players from Europe. It's going to be interesting for how many spots there even are for NA teams, especially if Heretics, as expected, are going to fill the Spanish team, as they full well should. And, you know, I think it's pretty funny comment actually here, right? Because will the Mutineers curse on OpTic disappear now they become the Miami Heretics? I don't know, but very interesting debate and discussion to be had. And these guys will be getting ready to learn Spanish Spanish ASAP. So, I mean, yeah, Mutineers in terms of the fan base, the survey that we did yesterday, they don't have a particularly strong fan base, and certainly that will be turned around by Heretics because they've got a big support, and Call of Duty will still be there, I'm sure, the support for these guys when they return to the scene, which is a very exciting prospect. So I think this is a W, to be honest. You know, it's interesting for guys like Willet too. I know he deleted this tweet afterwards, but basically he was, you know, trying to figure out getting on Duolingo, right, to try and learn Spanish to hope that he can stay around in the organization. And this is, as Jacob L says, one of the reasons why expansion is not occurring. The teams are desperate to sell up or merge with others to ease the burden of the buy-in and the operational costs. LA Guerrillas is seeking a buyout. Rokkr want a merger, hard enough to satisfy the teams already in. And this is why the discussion around, oh, you know, there's so many good players in the challenger size, like, let's get expansion, like, that's not really relevant fundamentally. CDL will expand when we see increases in viewership, microtransaction sales, event attendance, merch sales, etc., etc. But yeah, right now it's not happening. And this is an interesting quote here from Breaking Point that Ultra apparently wrote down the value of its spot by a quarter of its face value in 2022. So the idea is you're not necessarily paying 25 mil, you're buying an asset worth 25 mil, but Ultra now believe that asset is worth more like 18 and a bit mil. So that's not necessarily a good sign. But wanted to share this clip as well from Ben JoeDeceives on the Los Angeles Guerrillas situation and what they might be playing at.
What's the Miami Heretics thing? The Heretics are either taking over the spot or combining with the Florida Mutineers, and they're going to be the Spanish team to represent. They're going to be the Miami, Florida represent of the CDL, but they're probably going to have a lot of Spanish players on the team. So there'll be a lot of an influx of Spanish fans watching, supporting, which will be good.
I think that's super good, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely needed. And just be like Europeans and NA people. I know you have the and
said it can't be European Spain and us from Europe too, you know?
Nah, but it's not the same type of European.
A league source or an ownership source is that Team Falcons is very interested in the LAG spot. But I would find that hard to believe because I would be surprised if that's kind of a non-starter for Activision due to the politics of their current merger with Microsoft and just the difficulty of bringing in the Saudi Arabian team.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I had no idea who Team Falcon was.
They got money over there. They got money.
But again,
hey, Tom, what? They got money. Hey, listen, 3 mil.
This is very relevant, right? Because we discussed Rittles in this Gamers 8 tournament just yesterday, and the fact that Activision didn't seem so keen to allow Call of Duty to be played at this Gamers 8 tournament. You know, it's the thing that the Saudi Arabians are doing at the moment, right? In sports and esports, they're pushing pretty hard. And, you know, there's various reasons as to why that is the case. Now, Team Falcons have been around for quite some time in the Saudi Arabian scene. The likes of King of Body and others have been known from the Saudi Arabian COD community for quite some time. Used to play 1v1 Charles against iLLeY and stuff back in the day, and it was always good entertainment. They'd play on his ping, or they'd play on his server, and they'd play on iLLeY's host, right? And then they would, you know, see who got the most kills over those 2 times. So these guys have been pretty promising, and Falcons are apparently eager to buy the Los Angeles Guerrillas spot. Now, whether Activision wants to let that happen, but fundamentally, if there's no other interest, and the Saudis are like, hey, let's get in, and Activision, you know, can't sell it to anyone else, then it does raise the question, if that was to occur, what would they do, right? Would Falcons give the guys that are currently on their team a shot, right? Would they bring King of Body and Co over? Like, it does get very interesting there. So definitely one to keep your eyes on in terms of what could happen here in the near future, but many interesting questions on this Rostermania period already, and it got even more interesting last night. I feel kind of bad for Cap and Co if they do just, you know, get kicked out off the team. I think Capstar would be even a good candidate maybe to keep around, but still, it's tricky, and the roster that we mentioned could very much change over the coming months, but for now, that's where we're going to leave it. So very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.
Puyol, sacando por el costado para Nava. Vamos, Jesucito. Se marcha a velocidad, le persiguen. Van a por él. Hombre, le van a dar seguro. Vamos, Jesús. Qué bueno, Jesús. No puede conducir más y el balón le cae a Iniesta. Iniesta de tacón perfecto para Fábregas. Ahí la entrega de Fábregas es buena. Viene para Navas. Torres. Está delante del centro Iniesta. Para él va ese balón. Él le cae a Fábregas. Fábregas para Iniesta. Iniesta. ¡Chute!